Mary Jane was the kind of girl people barely noticed at first. Not because she was plain, far from it. Her beauty was quiet, the kind that didn't shout, the kind that came alive in the gentleness of her voice and the patience in her eyes. She had a way of listening to others as if their pain was her own. People trusted her without knowing why. Children gravitated toward her. Old women prayed for her. Even the wind seemed softer when she walked by. But Mary Jane's kindness lived in a world that did not always reward it, and sometimes the purest hearts attracted darkest shadows. She grew up in a neighborhood where everyone pretended to know everyone, but in reality, most people were just surviving in their private storms. Poverty lived side by side with pride, and pride was often louder. Mary Jane didn't have much. Her small family home was cracked by the sun, the windows shaky, the roof stubbornly holding itself together. But inside it lived something rare, peace. Her mother's voice was soft, her late father's memory lingered warmly, and her childhood friend, Success, bold and protective, was always just one street away. Success was everything Mary Jane wasn't. Loud where she was quiet, fierce where she was gentle, impulsive where she was thoughtful, but their bond was effortless, two souls whose differences knitted them together like a single heartbeat. He had been defending her since they could barely walk, and even as adults, that protective instinct never faded. What neither of them knew was that a storm was already gathering, slowly, silently, waiting to tear through the fragile balance of their world. Chief Duru entered Mary Jane's life the way a wolf enters a quiet forest, calmly, but with hunger disguised as sophistication. He was a man of influence, wealth, and a reputation built on fear. People spoke his name with caution, like a curse they didn't want to trigger. His cars were flashy, his clothes expensive, his smile deceptive. Most women avoided his attention. Those who didn't often regretted it. Mary Jane never sought his gaze, but one afternoon, while helping at a local event, their eyes crossed, and that was all it took. A man used to possession saw something he wanted, and he mistook Mary Jane's politeness for invitation. "Mary Jane," he said with a silky voice, "you're wasted in this place. I can give you more." She smiled politely and stepped back. "I'm fine with what I have, sir." That should have ended it, but men like Chief Duru don't accept no from people they consider beneath them. Days later, he approached her again, this time with an insulting amount of money wrapped inside a yellow envelope. When she refused, his eyes darkened, not with anger, but with the cold calculation of a predator marking her prey. "You'll regret humiliating me," he said. She didn't understand the weight of those words until the day her world was shattered. 2 police officers showed up at her door, stern faces, loud boots, no empathy. They pushed inside without waiting for permission. Mary Jane's mother cried out in confusion. Success, hearing the noise from outside, rushed in just as they were handcuffing her. "What is happening?" he shouted. "Your friend here," the officer barked, "stole 150,000 naira from Chief Duru's office. She's under arrest." The accusation struck her like lightning. She couldn't even speak at first. Her lips trembled, her hands trembled, her innocence trembled. I've never even been there," she whispered. The officers didn't care. They dragged her outside as neighbors watched, some with shock, some with pity, some with judgment. And judgment, she discovered, is the easiest thing for people to give.
Success fought like a madman. "She didn't steal anything. You're lying. This is rubbish." But the officers were armed, more aggressive than necessary. They shoved him aside. One pushed a gun into his stomach to silence him. Mary Jane looked at Success as they forced her into the van. His eyes were wide and helpless. She mouthed, "Please, don't get hurt." and then the doors slammed shut, swallowing her in darkness. Her time in the cell became a different kind of life. Cold cement, damp air, the stench of urine, the constant drip of leaking pipes, a metal door that clanged shut like a coffin every time it moved. She had never felt so alone, not even when her father died. She cried until she couldn't cry anymore, cried until her throat burned, cried until she became empty. On the second night, an officer whispered through the bars, "You should have just agreed to what Chief Duru wanted. It would have saved you from this." And in that moment, something inside her cracked, not like glass breaking, but like a sea breaking open. When she was released, her reputation was already damaged. People looked at her differently. Some avoided her as if corruption could be contagious. Some whispered lies they had no right to invent. Some laughed behind her back. But Success stood firmly beside her. "We're going to fight this," he said. "I swear on my life, MaryJane, we will." She nodded, but she didn't feel the same. Not yet. Something had shifted inside her. Her soft edges were sharper. Her once delicate voice was steadier. Her eyes held an unfamiliar depth. She began reading everything: laws, rights, cases, stories of corruption. She became obsessed with understanding the system that allowed a powerful man to crush a powerless woman. Success worried about her, but her determination was unshakable. Days turned into weeks. MaryJane barely slept. She gathered evidence like a detective. She listened to street gossip like a journalist. She traced every illegal connection Chief Duru ever made. Success helped her with his street smarts, his connections, his fearlessness. Together, they became a quiet storm building in the shadows. The turning point came when they found a former driver of Chief Duru, an old man with shaking hands and a broken conscience. He confessed everything: the planted evidence, the bribed officers, the threats to silence victims. MaryJane recorded every word. More victims emerged: women who had been manipulated, men who had been threatened, families who had lost everything due to Chief Duru's greed. MaryJane gave them a voice. Success gave them courage. They compiled documents, audio recordings, photographs, bank slips, hidden transactions, a lifetime of corruption waiting to explode. And it exploded. An investigative journalist received their entire file anonymously. Within 2 weeks, Chief Duru's empire was cracking. He was summoned. He was exposed. His allies distanced themselves. His smile disappeared. His arrogance faded. When the court date arrived, the room was full. The air was thick with tension. MaryJane walked in with quiet strength, Success beside her like a shield. Chief Duru glared at her, expecting fear, but she met his eyes steadily, calm, cold, unshaken. The judge read the charges. Victims spoke. Evidence played on screens. Reporters scribbled furiously. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. And MaryJane, she simply watched, not with hatred, but with purpose. When the sentence was delivered, a single tear slid down her cheek. Not for Chief Duru, not for the past, but for the piece of herself she lost and the new version she had become. Success whispered, "It's done." She replied softly, "No, it has begun." From that day, MaryJane became more than a survivor, more than a victim, more than a symbol. She became a movement. She dedicated her life to protecting others, teaching them their rights, helping them fight injustice, guiding them through darkness. Her heart had hardened, but only so it could stop breaking. Her tears had dried, but only so others wouldn't have to shed theirs. And across the city, people began to say it proudly. Justice now had a new name. Her name was MaryJane.